You think walking away means you wanted it less, but sometimes walking away is the only way someone can live with themselves. When the same life-changing opportunity asks for a real sacrifice, why does one person leave to protect inner alignment, while the other stays because giving up the future feels worse? You get the offer you've been waiting for: better pay, more influence, real momentum. You reread the email. Both of them want it. That's what makes this hard. One stays up thinking, what will this turn into 5 years from now? The other stays up thinking, what will this turn me into if I say yes? And that difference sounds small until it changes everything. This is where it starts to split. At first, the opportunity looks clean. It matches their talent. It opens doors. People around them say, you'd be crazy not to take this. But then the trade-offs show up. The role wants more visibility, more compromise, more saying the approved thing instead of the true thing. You're in the meeting and everyone nods. The INTJ notices the compromise immediately. So does the INFP. That part is shared. They both see the hidden cost, and they both know success is never free. But the INTJ starts measuring long-term leverage. Can this discomfort be managed? Can the position create future freedom? They can already see 3 outcomes, and walking away from a carefully built path feels reckless. The INFP measures something else. If the role keeps asking for small betrayals, will the win still feel like a win? They remember how this usually goes. What starts as just adapt slowly becomes self-erasure. It looks like the same caution, but it protects different things. One is guarding the future they built. The other is guarding the self that has to live inside it. And that's only the beginning. This is where friction starts. Now the opportunity gets more specific. Better money, yes, but less creative control. More authority, yes, but more pressure to represent values they don't fully believe in. You pause before replying. The INTJ thinks, not ideal, but workable. If the structure is strong enough, they can tolerate temporary misalignment. They don't like it, but they'd rather carry discomfort than lose strategic ground they may never get back. The INFP hears that and quietly recoils, because to them, this is how people disappear into lives they no longer recognize. They can also see possible benefits, but every benefit now feels contaminated by what it asks them to mute. And here's the twist. Neither one is being careless. The INTJ is not ignoring meaning. They're protecting the long arc. The INFP is not ignoring consequences. They're protecting the core that gives any consequence meaning. So why does each choice sound wrong to the other? Which one are you? Have you experienced this? But this gets worse. This is where misunderstanding takes over. The INFP says, if I have to become someone I'm not, it isn't worth it. The INTJ hears unnecessary surrender. Why abandon something valuable before the full outcome is even clear? The INTJ says, you don't throw away a serious opportunity because it feels off right now. The INFP hears the beginning of a life built on self-abandonment. Nobody is yelling. That's the uncomfortable part. They both sound reasonable. They both sound impossible. The INTJ keeps trying to refine the plan, adjust the terms, delay the emotional reaction. Maybe the compromise is narrower than it feels. Under pressure, they get more direct, because indecision looks expensive. The INFP keeps testing the inner cost. Maybe they could do it. Maybe they're overreacting. But the more they imagine living it daily, the heavier it gets. Under pressure, they withdraw, because explaining it badly feels worse than being misunderstood. It feels like honesty, but it lands like rejection. And now it shifts. This is where it becomes emotional conflict. The INTJ takes the role. The INFP walks away. Same opportunity. Opposite loss. You see the announcement go up. The INTJ respects the discipline it took to leave. Secretly, they do. Because not everyone can give up something real for a principle that may never pay them back. but they still can't imagine choosing that loss on purpose. The INFP respects the strength it took to stay. Secretly, they do, because not everyone can carry that much tension and keep moving. But they still can't imagine waking up every day inside a success that feels internally wrong. So the respect is real. The disbelief is also real. One thinks you sacrificed the future. The other thinks you sacrificed yourself. Who's actually paying more? And this is where it breaks. Months later, the real cost shows up. The INTJ has progress, status, momentum, but the strain leaks out in sharper edges, less patience, more moments where they stop explaining and just become firm. They can justify the path, but they can't fully ignore what it keeps taking. The INFP has peace, maybe even relief, but there's also grief, financial uncertainty, the sting of watching the life they could have had move forward without them. They know why they left, but that doesn't make the loss imaginary. You look at both lives, and neither feels simple anymore. That's the point. They're not choosing success versus authenticity. They're defining success by what they refuse to lose. The INFP walks away because winning without inner alignment feels hollow. The INTJ stays because abandoning a meaningful long-term objective feels like a regret that would haunt them longer than discomfort ever could. They're not protecting the same thing. But both are protecting integrity. That's why the respect stays. And so does the frustration, because each one can see the other's intelligence and still believe they sacrificed the wrong thing. Which one are you? Have you ever chosen peace over progress, or progress over peace? And then the real cost shows up. Not in the decision, but in the life that follows it. They're not doing this to reject success. They're protecting the one loss they believe would be impossible to replace. Be honest. Which choice could you actually live with? The one that protects your future, or the one that protects your inner alignment? Comment your type. Tell me which loss feels worse to you, and subscribe if this hit a little too close.